Hello, money queens and listeners. Welcome to Women Behind the Millions. Let's meet the women behind the millionaires, the women supporting, guiding, celebrating women with their wealth. You will hear from women millionaires, how they got there, what they wish they had known, what got them to be a millionaire, the emotional side, the spiritual side, the practical side of wealth. You'll also get to meet the women behind the scenes helping make it happen. Let's dive into Women Behind the Millions. I am Jessica Weaver, your host, best-selling author of 3 books, wealth advisor, and founder of the Women's Wealth Boutique. Let's start meeting the women. Hello, ladies. Welcome to Women Behind the Millions. New season. Here we are. I cannot wait for this season. What season are we at? Season 4 already? And this is our Rise and Find season. And you'll learn why. We have a new book coming out here at Pink Fix Productions. And it's coming November of 2024 is our pre-launch day. So you'll be hearing from all of the co-authors, the amazing ladies setting the stage for that high-achieving woman. And the woman who is teeing us off with tonight's episode and in the new book is our very own Caroline Tanis. You know her, ladies. You've seen her on the show. She's an incredible advisor at the Wealth Boutique in her Tanis Financial Group. And she was one of our co-authors of Financial Trendsetters and has one of my favorite quotes. And I even wore my champagne earrings in honor of her today because she starts her chapter in Financial Trendsetters, the dream life, one that sizzles and pops. I want a life that sizzles and pops and makes me laugh out loud. And I don't want to get to the end or to tomorrow even and realize that my life is a collection of meetings and pop cans and errands and receipts and dirty dishes. And this is from the book called Tangerines. And that is so true, right? We don't want to be on that hamster wheel where we get up, we work, we pay our bills, go to sleep, and repeat, rinse and repeat over and over again. And she talks later in her chapter about, remember that these are your dreams and they are worthy of becoming a reality. Money is simply a tool that can be used to make that happen. While I can't exaggerate and say that the road to your greatest aspirations is all butterflies and rainbows, I can offer my story as an example of endurance and perseverance. Plenty of people try to knock me down and make me fit into their box, but she is stubborn, as she says, too stubborn for that. I don't want to give away the whole chapter, but one, she's an amazing writer, an amazing speaker also, but she really is here to stand up for us ladies that we are trying to have it all and not forget that we have our own dreams along the way. So Caroline Tanis, who is she? She is a CDFA, Certified Divorce Financial Analyst. She's a financial advisor and strategist who focuses on helping her clients build their desired lifestyles. She works primarily with highly ambitious women and their families to create a financial plan. Caroline helps her clients determine their goals and future lifestyle in order to build a plan specific to them. Utilizing estate, retirement, trust, investment planning, and more, Caroline is able to bridge the gap between where her clients are now and where they want to get to. She doesn't want you to have to sacrifice. And that's what I love, especially on her social media. She constantly reminds you that you don't have to sacrifice. It's more about prioritizing and having a plan and figuring out what are those steps to get you along the way. So with that, I am going to bring Caroline to the stage. Let's see. Ready?
I was going to say it to the drum roll.
It's dangerous, ladies. I now have a soundboard as we record this. But Caroline Tanis, thank you for coming. One, back to the show. Starting off season 4 with you. 2 for wearing pink on the show. And for taking a stand for us working ladies. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's I think we're kind of the group that gets left behind, right? Of those of us that work and try to do it all. So someone had to do it.
Yeah, you're the advocate, you're the evangelist, I'll even say, dare I say, for it. You have a statistic on the amount of money women, I don't know if you would say they leave it on the table or we just aren't paid it. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
It's so interesting. I was reading updated research about it last night, so incredibly timely we're talking about this. And so the statistic is $940,000 is the amount of money that is it's a culmination of things, right? So it's the fact that and it's statistically talking about women who have to step away from their careers because they are being a caretaker for a family member, because they have a child or multiple children, because they take career breaks. That is the amount of money that we are missing out on because of these different career breaks or moments in time that we have to step away. And so, for example, even while you're on maternity leave, you have the woman who goes out on maternity leave for 3 months, and then you have the man who's at the same level position who is continuing to rise. But because she stepped away to have a child, natural part of life, she then is, falling behind on this trajectory. And so that money, it just continues to compound throughout our lives. And $1 million is not a small chunk of change.
No, I bet women are baffled. I knew it was bad. I didn't think it was, we'll just round it up to 7 figures.
Yeah, it
right.
is.
It was around
right? Inflation.
That is insane. Women do tend to, and this happened to you as well, having to put work on pause to take care of loved ones. That was what, a year ago?
A year and a half ago, I kind of put all of life on pause and it's never in moments when you can't plan for it, right? You can't sit here and say, okay, well, when I have to go take care of a sick or aging parent, here's what I'll do. It's in the moment, dumpster fire, figure it out kind of thing.
Yes. And you had just switched careers, launched your own firm right when it happened, as you said. It's never the opportune time when these things happen. It's always the worst day for your kid to get sick.
Yep.
Or it was the time of your career when you now have to take care of your husband or a parent or a child, a grandchild as well. Let's talk about Rise and Find. Where did the title for the book come from, Caroline?
So it was a little bit of a play on words. And so Alyssa Goman and I, who's the creative director, she and I, and also one of the authors in the book, she and I were trying to play around with, I still remember too, I was walking in the cheese aisle of King's, which is where everyone has all of their best ideas. And she and I were trying to play around with kind of the wording for it. And we were like, well, it's all about, fighting just like the hustle and the grind, but really rising up to be who we really are. And then we were like, what if we played on, the whole rise and grind bro culture that is so heavy, especially, being so close to Manhattan, and played on like rise and find, like rise up to your true potential and find out who you truly are. And it was inspired by the cheese, obviously. So
the cheese, the cheese arrow that's rising and rising in front of us as well. You're right. Because how many times in a day do I just say to myself, just grind it out, just get through it, power through, you've got this. And we really have put on the pedestal that hustle. We need to be in hustle to be productive, to make more money. If I'm not doing that, then I'm doing something wrong, or I'm lazy, and you feel guilty earning the more money. I mean, we can on with this too. And I love the find part of it, that we're constantly this evolution and being curious on to figure out who am I in this moment, and that could be changing all along the way. So it's just kind of embracing that journey of self-discovery.
And I think that's the coolest part about the book too, is because you have so many different authors and so many parts of your life that we're looking at. You might read this book today, or when it comes out in November, and you might read this and say, oh my gosh, I really identify with this. I'm pulling these pieces of information. This is what I need. And then as you continue to have that evolution and keep going, you might come back in a year and open it up and read the book again and say, ooh, now this piece really sticks out to me, and now this. And so I think it's this continual journey where as you, reread it and spend time digging into the chapters, you're going to pull out different things as you find out who you are and continue to evolve.
Ooh, I love that. It's very true. And you going through the book, and we're going to talk about the concept of the book, who's in the book as well. But just to give you all an idea, it's covering different facets of a woman's life, from nutrition to money to parenting. So you might be at a different phase or stage of life, or it's just not that burning need or priority that's hitting home yet. Once you get clear on the others, and now you come back to it a year later, oh, now I'm ready to tackle this part of it. I'm ready to find out more about this. and rise through it. I also found it very fitting with the rising because we rise so much better together. And for it to be a multi-author book, that it is a team book, that we are really pulling everybody up together through this endeavor.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the coolest parts of it too, is also just from the author side. And this is something I really, when I was bringing all the authors together, I made an emphasis on this, is I want it to be a community amongst all the authors and amongst everyone who reads the book, right? Because I think it's one thing to just write a book and put people together and say, great, here we go. It's another thing when we are supporting one another, cheering each other on, and able to collaborate. Like, I know there's so many different events going on amongst our authors who are teaming up, collaborating, figuring things out to do together. And I feel like a proud mom.
That community that you built is incredible. I know we have a fun, big launch party in Hoboken, New Jersey, November 14th, 2024, to celebrate the launch of this book. Where did the concept for the book come from, Caroline? Were you back in the cheese aisle when it came to you?
I oddly enough was not in the cheese aisle this time. I wish I was, but anyone who knows me knows I am the biggest book nerd. I love to read. I read more than I watch TV. And so I have a huge bookshelf that lines the side of my room. And I was sitting there one day trying to figure out what I would want to write about and what really stood out to me. And I'm like, how come? I separate all my fiction and nonfiction out. And I'm looking at the nonfiction and I go, how come all of these books, I have one that talks about money, I have one that talks about, your gut health, one that talks about your sleep. Why don't we ever just talk about people? Like, we never look at somebody and say, like, you are an entire person who, you have mental health that you deal with, physical health, you have parenting, your nutrition, your money, you deal with all of that on a daily basis, right? So I'll be reading a money book or, something about nutrition. And so I'm so zoned into that. And then I'm like, wait, now I've neglected all these other areas of my life. So when I put this book together, I wanted us to look at the woman as a whole, right? Like, we are whole beings, and we are not just our nutrition. We're not just parents. We're not just employees. We are these entire beings. And that's where it really came from.
Wow. Very true. So it's a very well balanced book. You think of the Wheel of Life balance chart. I wish we had graphics, right? And you have different pieces of the pie: finances, religion or spiritual, personal growth, education, career, right? And it fills it all in. So let's go through the lineup. What different areas of our lives do we have covered in this book?
Yeah. Okay. Let me make sure I get everyone. So we have 13 authors. So I am covering being financially sandwiched. We have Alyssa Goldman, who is going to talk about part healing. We have Nora Gillis, who is talking about leadership in the workplace. We have Clara Wang, who is talking about your personal brand. We have Bethany, who is going to be talking all about personal development and also developing who you are and standing into that. Selena Maddox is talking about learning and development while you are still in a leadership position. We have Belkis, who's talking about travel and everything that's exciting in there, which I think is so cool, and the importance of traveling with your family. We have Lindsay, who's talking about estate planning. I'm trying to make sure I hit everybody. I'm like visualizing everyone. We have Jacqueline, who's going to be talking about your mental health. We have Bree, who is covering nutrition and wellness, and she has an amazing story in there. Yahi, who's going to be talking about the importance of cash flow in your life and making sure you understand your balance sheet. Who did I miss?
I think we've got a lot covered. So we have on the business side, from branding to, he does a ton with being accountant for business owners. So making sure your finances are in order there. We have parenting, delegation, we have
parenting. Yeah, that was what I missed. Michelle.
Michelle, yes, and I just recorded her interview, and we're gonna have her back to back with Jamie for the delegation. Because I think the biggest piece of this book is learning when to bring people into your world to help you, and learning how to delegate. Why do you think it's so hard for women to delegate, Caroline?
It's interesting. And I think it brings up, I'm blanking on the woman's name who you and I saw in Boston. She spoke. She's the author of The Confidence Code. And it was
Okay.
yes, and was I think she's one of the best speakers I've ever seen. That was amazing. And talking about like mental load and like being able to communicate it, and we get so frustrated of it not being done our way. And I think we have a hard time delegating because, and maybe I'm speaking for myself in this one, is that I have a vision of what I want something to look like. And by delegating, it's not going to turn out necessarily that way. And being able to let go is very difficult.
Yes. Yes.
Some therapist is listening to this right now and is like,
Picking it.
yeah.
Well, it's just, we know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I found I was very reluctant to start delegating and then realizing the burnout and not being the best at, especially at home, having to do it at work. Then it became almost addictive. Like, it became more of a game. So like once you kind of get over that hump, you realize how much it expands you and frees you up. So that's what I'm hoping through this book. I'd love to hear what your goals are for the readers of this book, to start to embrace when to tap into an expert, how to delegate, not let go of that vision that you have, that dream that you have, but realizing you can make it happen quicker or sooner, or just be fluid with it, what it could look like.
Yeah, and Jamie was another one that I was like, I know I'm missing some amazing women in here. Jamie too talks about hiring in your personal life, in your business, even if you're in a corporate role, and that delegation. And you're right, it is so addictive to, once you start to get over it, to be like, okay, now I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to hire that person. Now I'm going to do this. And it's that slow roll that very quickly can build. And I think the importance too, and the way to look at the book is seeing these authors, yes, as the experts, but also the role models. You know, they are talking, they are walking the talk, the things that they are saying, they do themselves, right? The reason I picked these amazing women to be a part of this project is because I knew, yes, they were the experts in their field, but they became experts because they learned by doing, right? I know that Jamie hires some amazing people. I know that Nora is such a leader in what she does. I know that Bethany has an incredible story and can talk about stepping into who you are. And I could go on for every woman who is in here. And that's, I think, what's so cool. And even too, like, just you taught me so much about delegating and being able to expand. And so it's having those people that you can look to. And I hope that this book is like a little present that I can give people for under, $20. You are able to sit there and now have this community of experts, but also these mentors in your life where it's like, okay, she did it, so can I.
Yes. So we're very passionate at Pink Fix Productions around telling your story. So you can imagine all of these women, they were very vulnerable in sharing their stories, their heart of why they got into this certain field of expertise. What drove them there usually is a personal story or something like Brie, our nutritionist, happened to her daughter in Lyme's disease, and that initiated it as well. And so it's amazing for them to be, as Brene Brown says, courageous enough to be vulnerable with all of the readers and really putting their heart out there for women to see. Now, have you read through all the chapters, Caroline?
I have. I got a little sneak peek. So
what are your big takeaways from this book?
Ooh, that's a tough one. It's amazing because every chapter is so different, right? Like I would read one chapter and I would put it down and be like so inspired, right? When I read Bree's chapter about, what she went through with her daughter, I literally booked an appointment with Bree and was like,
I did the same thing. What? We did Rainbow Grateful disclosure.
and what was it when I was in Belgis, when I read about her traveling with her family and the experiences that she had, I was like transported into that world of, I travel so much already, but it reminded me too. I was like, okay, this isn't something, as my life changes and grows that I'm going to give up, because look at how important this is. Like I need to prioritize this. And I think every chapter has that for me, right? And this goes back to the evolution where I finished every chapter and was like, okay, based at the end of this, here's my one takeaway, here's my one action item. And I think I encourage people to, as they're reading it, whether you have a journal next to you or whether you get the paperback copy and like or hardcover and you look right in it, like right in there. And in this moment, okay, here's my one takeaway. And you might come back in a year and say like, wow, I'm so far past that, or I need to revisit this. And I think it's going to grow with you to come back to that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's an amazing goal for this book, for it to grow with you as you're finding out yourself more and more, or you hit a different stage and now it's applying in a different way.
Yeah. What were your key takeaways?
My biggest takeaway was, and I've say this throughout the season, the pressure women we put on ourselves was so glaring. Because as you said before, with traditional books, right, it's just focused on money. Yes, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves with money. With our bodies and what we're putting into it and how our bodies look and feel, and then parenting, right? The guilt, the expectations. But to see it covering so many areas of our life,
it's scary.
I think is going to be the biggest takeaway for women. Like, this needs to change because we're crushing ourselves. There's no outlet. Like, there's no positive where I feel really good about my body. Like, we're still like that self-criticism and critiquing is huge. So that's my hope with this book, is that it starts to change that internal dialogue that we have with ourselves when it comes to everything. And then having these mentors there, we need that, what do we call it? The crew that's there to pump you up. Right?
Yeah. It's your hype squad, but not, I think, in the fake sense of, the person that's just going to be the woo girl in the background that's like, yeah, you got this. It's no, we're going to be here to hold your hand. You can do this. And here's how, right? It's not just this like, yeah, you're good. Go have fun. You can do it, girl. It's, you can absolutely do this. And we're going to be here with you.
Yeah. It's not over margaritas. We're like, you got this. Go talk to that food over there. It's going to go great.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
My gut's been bothering me for years. I feel horrible about it. I don't go out. I don't wear certain things. Like, here's green. And if you're over that right now, it's fresh in our mind. We're going to get to the underlying root causes versus covering up with medicine. You're going to start to feel really good about it. Yeah. And don't put so much pressure on yourself, because, like for me, radiation things for all of my devices or plastics. Like, that's like, how would I know that? It's like, we can't feel so bad or put so much pressure on ourselves, or we have no clue what root causes are for these different triggers and the pressure into. So yeah, that's my goal. That's what I think this book is really going to show women, is like, one, we need to give ourselves a break, remove some of that pressure. And I think that's going to allow us to take more action by removing it.
And I encourage people to, as they're reading this, like, make an action, like I said, like, from each chapter, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Like, here's my takeaway. Here's what I'm going to do about it. And actually, like, book the appointment, reach out. If you want to start chatting with or working with one of the authors, reach out to them, have a conversation, say, hey, I read the book. Like, this really spoke to me. They are all so excited to meet all of the readers of the book. And I think for us, this is also so much of a passion project of, we want to build this community and make it a movement of finding out who you are. And I think that's something that Clara hits on so well too, with like, you are your own person, you are your own brand, no matter if you are a corporate employee, a mom, whatever it is, a business owner, like, you are a person and you deserve to live your best life.
Amen.
How long have you been waiting to do that?
I lowered it in case I needed to, like the Oscar music. It's Caroline Tanis that we're speaking with, a woman behind the millions. We're going to take a quick break, come back, because we're going to dive into her chapter and Rise and Find some new endeavors that she has that have started and she's been working towards as well. So stay with us, ladies.
At the Wealth Boutique, we know there's a different kind of wealth. It's not just about the dollars in your account, but that sense of freedom, confidence, and security that comes with it. We know that money isn't just about the math. It's so deeply intertwined with your emotions, values, aspirations. And it's your time. For too damn long, society has whispered in your ear planting seeds of shame, guilt, greed, embarrassment around money. But here we say and do something different. We give you permission to be who you are meant to be, to spend where it feels good, and to invest where your heart is. Our female-focused team of advisors understands the unique financial journeys of women, couples, and their families. We're not here to just talk numbers. We're here to help you craft your own financial triumph story, one that reflects your goals and values. We open up our arms at the Wealth Boutique to guide you, be your confidant, your advocate, your ally, whether it's your retirement, financial plan, or estate plan. Let's craft your unique story and get started.
All right, we are back with Caroline Tanis here on Women Behind the Millions and our season premiere of Rise and Find season, our 4th season, ladies. How crazy is that? So Caroline is lead author of the newest book, Rise and Find, of Pink Fix Productions. And this book we were talking about before is just an evolution of a woman's life, but especially going into the different components that make up a woman, from parenting to mental health to finances, careers, all of it, ladies. We have you covered. So Caroline, let's talk about your particular chapter in this book. What I loved about it so much was how clear you chunk down into different stages of a woman's life. Talk me through that journey.
Yeah, it was really focused on kind of things that I am starting to feel, as you enter the sandwich generation of having, right now my baby is my dog and a business, but they seem just as equally demanding sometimes. And so it's a lot of it too, is then how do you deal with aging parents and making sure that you're financially okay, and not even more just than just the finances, but mentally, physically, emotionally, all of that. And also dealing then with the next generation and the generation behind you, right? Although my dog isn't going to go to college, one day when I have kids, if they need to go to college or they want to go, around the world, where are you supporting that? But also then have your parents, my parents are part of the baby boomer generation that didn't have necessarily, retirement planning wasn't as big of a thing back then, and no one expected to live this long. And so it's a very different landscape. And so I wrote a lot of that chapter for how I'm going to and how I am navigating a lot of these conversations now as an only child of divorced parents, adds in a whole new layer of exciting fun. And so this chapter is a little bit of a journal for me and what I have had to navigate.
And for it being right when it was happening or not long afterwards, it's going to feel very real to the reader. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's going to hit home more than anything than reflecting on it years later, or right when you're in the thick of it, you have all those emotions, you have the guilt, the pressure, feeling you need to be there for your parents, but then you feel bad you're not giving attention to your business or to your dots in Chester either for it. Yeah, just incredible. I was really excited to see that breakdown. I think it's going to help the readers and women. Like, I know this is coming. I don't need to stress about it right now because this is a zone I'm in. I know that there's going to be a blueprint when that comes time, when I hit that part of my journey.
Yeah. And having these conversations now with your parents about, and, and explaining to your kids and talking to your spouse about, okay, here's where we are financially right now. Are we going to need to support our parents? How do we want to support our kids as they grow up? Do we want to buy them a house? Do we want to pay for college, weddings? I mean, life's gotten expensive, as I think we've all come to realize. And the biggest thing is communicating all of these things.
Yes. You said setting up the expectation. You're right. When we work with parents and they have adult children, and I always think the movie's Failure to Launch, like you're trying to launch them financially independent. Go, fly, be free. Yeah. They keep coming back and like, well, I'm taking care of their phone bill, their auto insurance. I send some few $100s a month for groceries. Caroline, I had a couple and I had them do the work because we needed to figure out how much money they spend in order to build out their retirement plan. And he said, thank goodness we did this. We realized we've been giving them $60,000 a year. All those little amounts. And they go, you know what was horrible? Because we have Venmo, we have PayPal, we have Amazon Prime. there's so many, we'll call them leaks,
Yep.
going out that it didn't seem like a lot in the moment, but then when they looked over a whole year, $60,000, that's a big swing. And then inflate that. Yeah.
Grown folks. Yeah.
Yeah. So explaining, like setting up that expectation, right? I might cover this for the first year, and then so it doesn't feel like you're ripping the rug out from underneath them, but you're starting, you're not enabling them, you're starting to get them ready. How would you say, let's say parents are very closed off, right? That generation, I don't want to talk about my money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine. That's all you need to know. How do you get that conversation started with them?
Yeah. And this happens so often. I always ask clients as well, do you expect to have to take care of aging parents? Like, do you think they will move in with you? And what I say is, rather than, a lot of people get closed off when it's also talking about the financials, but I say start the conversation with, okay, what's the plan, right? Who, God forbid something happens to you, or when that time comes, who do I even contact, right? Like, where can I find all of your important documents? And that's a slow roll, right? And they'll start to build on that. And, once they're like, okay, now she knows where my documents are. And it's not that you're going to go read them and you can ensure them of that. It's just that you want to know. So when the time comes, you're prepared. I also think it's appropriate to ask and say, hey, what are your plans for, when you can no longer take care of yourself? Because I want to make sure I'm respecting your wishes, right? And make it because you want to prioritize them. Mm-hmm. And for many of us, it's a role reversal, right? For so long, we've been the kids and the children, no matter if you're 30, 40, 50, 60, it's still, you are their child. And so it's hard for that, change to happen. And so you're going to become their caretaker potentially. And so understanding, hey, in my family, my grandmother's still alive. She's almost 100 and is anti-nursing home. But that's a conversation that we had to have because we need to understand what care they do and don't want. Okay, then who's going to be the caretaker then? And be willing and open to have these conversations. Do it in a neutral place, and know that it might take time. It's not going to happen all in one day. That's a very long-winded answer.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's being very patient. Do you think it's also that generation not wanting to admit that they're at that stage, or just terrified of what's around the corner?
I think it's part of that. And I think it's afraid of like, okay, that, right, again, that switch is going to happen, right? Like my child is going to have to step in and become the caretaker and step up or hire somebody to be the caretaker. And I also think it's kind of the precedent that they grew up around of like, we don't talk about it. It's very hush hush. We don't talk about these things. And I'll add on a third one of no one lived this long, right? Like we didn't have to have those conversations, right? Like you, and I've posted about this on social media and in blog posts, is like, you got your gold watch, you retired, you maybe lived for another year or two. Yeah. So we're not used to having to have these conversations of, do you want to go to adult daycare? Do you want to go to a nursing home? Do you want to go? These things exist. And so I think we also, a lot of that generation doesn't know what exists. And they all just think, I posted a video about this yesterday, it's a one-way ticket to the nursing home. And they think that's it.
Yes. Oh, that's true. And when you look at the nursing home beds, I mean, there's already a wait list, especially for Medicaid beds. And now you have the baby boomers are now that generation that are going to be next to hit needing long-term care. I want to say it's around 10 times the wait list that it's going to be. So there is really a crisis coming up here when it comes to elder care, long-term care, nursing homes, Medicaid, all of that stuff too. So these conversations need to happen because we need to plan and be prepared because the crisis is coming.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. I know we started a conversation about how much money women are robbed of or left on the table, $940,000 over the lifetime. Part of caretaking, we can see why, right? There's a hefty price tag or not having the conversation. So now there's no plan in place for how do I do both? Can I stay in the workplace? Can I not? You're just kind of stripped from that role. And in survival mode, let's just get through this phase, right, in the nursing home.
And as women, we also live longer. So a lot of times what we'll see is, and I saw this in my own, grandparents was my grandfather died when he was, very young. My grandmother was his caretaker. Okay, she outlived him by 25 years so far and counting. It's a long time to be alone. That's a long time to live. And that's also a long time where you're depending on other caretakers when you reach that point, right? So who is it? As women, we're the caretakers for everyone else. We're the first person, as Michelle talks about in her chapter, that the school calls when they need to contact a parent. Who's left around to take care of us?
You're right. Wow. And I remember seeing was it 80% of nursing homes are filled with women because we take care of everybody else who's left to take care of. It's just left there. That's similar with my father's parents. His father passed away at 62, 6 months after retirement, and my grandmother lived till 98. So 30 plus years as a widow, and might have been longer she was a widow than she was married at that point.
Wow.
It's just crazy. Yes. We're too. So women, we need to plan for these parts of our life. All right, Caroline, we're going to take another quick break, and then we're going to have three more crucial questions to ask you. So stay with us.
Stop playing small, and girl, stop hiding your story. Your story matters. It is a privilege to hear your story. So get out there and tell it. Unlock this remarkable potential of your life story and go on an extraordinary journey towards becoming a best-selling author and a thriving entrepreneur. Just look at some of our financial trendsetters who became a best-selling author, who went on to lead more multi-author anthology books. Donna Cates in Divorce Decoded, a manifesto for women going through divorce. Or Caroline Tanis, Rise and Find, to put together a community that encompasses all of a woman, not just these small pieces of her. Or Camille Roberson, putting together a groundbreaking book, Beyond the Broker, for women in the financial industry. All these ladies use their story to build a platform and broadcast it out to the world while building these communities, fostering, nurturing their clients, their relationships, and giving back. All of these book proceeds are going towards nonprofits, foundations, scholarships, to build even more resources out there for women. And that's what we do here at Pink Fix Productions. We amplify your voice, get your story to be told, and in the hands of the right audiences. That's how we got you, girl.
All right, Caroline Tanis is back with us for a few important questions we have for you. With every episode, we always ask, what is that tip, strategy, advice that you would give? So we're going to call this our Rise and Find tip. What would you recommend to women who are reading this book?
Ask the question, no matter what it is. And I think this applies to every chapter in here. Ask the question. And I think it goes back to that college, high school, so my mother's teacher, that of if you have the question, someone else has it, right? So ask the authors questions that you have about their chapters, about areas of your life. Be curious, be inquisitive, because you need to find out who you are. You owe it, I think, not only to yourself, but to the world, right? I very strongly believe that we are all here for a purpose, and it is our journey in this life to figure out what that purpose is and to live it out fully. And you are robbing not only yourself, but the rest of us. So find out who you are and rise up to fill that fullest potential. And you need to do that by asking all of the hard questions.
Yes, and I would recommend engaging with all of the authors. Find them on Instagram, message them their websites. They are all incredible women, very friendly, and here to help, right? To be that source for you. I love that, getting super curious, asking the questions. Someone's waiting for you to ask it, too, like you said.
They want to answer it, too, probably.
Oh, my God, of course. Right? This is their passion. So they're going to light up, and that energy is contagious, right? They light up, their energy goes, and then it goes to you, and just that ripple effect.
Yep.
We were at the lake, and my son was asking why when he dropped something into the lake, that movement happens, the ripple. And I'm like, do we go down a whole pathway of energy? And one thing, when it energizes, that energy that hits another thing, and on and on. Do we go into atoms? But everything is an energy, right? So if you ask them, they are thrilled to be of service, right? Because that energy is just going to bounce right back to them as well. How about your rise and find trend? So thinking of these highly ambitious women, what do you see them kind of standing up for, maybe advocating for, doing differently?
Yeah. So in the financial world, I really see women who no longer want to be left out of the conversation, right? So they are rising up and standing into the fact that they are making more money, that they want to be involved in these conversations, right? And I see it day in and day out with my clients is they're not just like, oh, my husband met with the financial advisor and it's fine, whatever. No, they're sitting in the conversations with me. And I'm also prioritizing saying to them, I'm here. What are your questions? Even if the husband does a lot of the talking, I always end it by asking the way, what's your questions? What do you need to know? Like, even if it's not finance related, if I could tell you the meaning of life, I would, but I don't know it. But it's really the change I'm seeing is that they want to be involved and they want to understand. They're no longer these people on the sidelines anymore.
Do you think it's because they saw maybe their mom or an aunt get taken advantage of or get stuck in a bad relationship because of it? Do you think it's from witnessing and not wanting to continue that pattern? Or what do you thought?
I think to add on to that and going back to the women outliving men is that, okay, he's gone, now what? I need to know for now. And the other part of the equation I'm seeing is that a lot of times, and especially the people I work with, the woman's the breadwinner. And they're like, hold on, if I'm making all the money, I'm doing all the work, and if you're a stay-at-home dad, that's totally fine. But I'm not going to sit here and not be a part of the conversation. Like, yes, this is our money, but I am going to have a say in how we are using it and spending it and wanting to be involved.
Yes. Yes. I'm often asked, because we are a female-focused financial firm at the Wealth Boutique, where do men come into the picture? I'm like, a lot of men love us because they know we'll take care of the wives, and we're going to be patient with educating the wives and very engaging with talking to them at their level, especially through storytelling, the books, our events, and whatnot. So when we have the right men who are actually looking for somebody that's going to relate better with their wife, because it's so much pressure too on that one person, whether it's man or woman, to make all of the financial decisions. Sometimes there is just a financial abuse and they want that power and control. But most of the time, it's a lot of pressure. And I can say that from, with me and my husband's dynamic, I obviously make a lot of the decisions just because I'm in it all day long. Mm-hmm. But the more that I start to include him, I felt that pressure, that stress kind of weaning off of me. What do you think about that, Caroline?
I agree. And it's interesting too. I have one client in particular, I didn't know if we'd be a good fit because I was like, he's in the finance world, very male dominated, and that stereotype, if you want to go down that path. And he was like, he literally sits down with his wife and says, there's 3 phone calls you make if something happens to me: the police / the ambulance, my parents, and then Caroline. And she's like, yeah, that's it. And like, she and I have an incredible relationship. I think she's fantastic. And he knows that if something happens to him, I am going to do right by them. And it's someone he can trust. And so that ease, I can also see in him, right? Like, we have the conversations. If I can see too that there's something, she's like, what the heck are you talking about? I'm like, hold on, let's pause. Let's make sure everyone's on the same page. And you see that stress even like physically dissipate in people, like whether you're on Zoom or in person, like you can just feel people be like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, understand what the plan is now. I get this. And I think that's one of the best parts of my job is when you see everything start to click, and that just that people physically have knowing that it's going to be okay and that there's a plan.
I was going to ask, is that your favorite part when you get
to
mm-hmm.
Can you tell?
And you're talking about, like, God, I feel more relaxed. I take a deep breath in, breathe out. And sometimes you're living with that stress for so long, you don't even realize it's there anymore. And then you're so tense all day long. And you have like, oh, wow, move again. I'm loose again.
Yeah.
For it too. Amazing, Caroline. All right. We have a special person wanting to ask you a question tonight.
What makes you alone behind the millions?
Hi, Andy. I love it. She's so cute. Make me a woman behind the millions. I think there's two parts to that. It's number one, embodying what I want to see from my clients, supporting them in their journey. Whether it's, everyone comments, they're like, you travel so much, you're doing this. And then, I'll have clients come to me and they'll be like, well, I don't want to travel as much as you do. I don't care. You don't need to go to Kenya. I already went. I'll show you all my pictures. If you don't need to go, that's fine. I have a whole slideshow. It's that I can support them on what they're doing. But the whole point of me embodying it is I'm following what I want, right? And I am practicing what I preach to them. If it's, I'm focusing and prioritizing my financials and my life and spending money the way I want to. And my goal is that they do the same, whether they want to spend it on cars. I have a couple clients that love horses. And whatever it is, I want you to just so fully love it. And so for me, being a woman behind the millions is being the billionaire woman, but also supporting them on their millionaire journey.
Yes. I'm thinking too, the guilt. So when I see you try, I'm like, I kind of allow me to give myself permission. Like, when we've had this conversation a lot, like how we grew up in the financial industry, and what we witnessed was like, you don't tell clients you're on vacation.
Oh, never.
You don't let them know that, God forbid, I'm home with my kids for maternity leave for 6 weeks. Right? Don't tell them, oh, they're going to get worried. Watching how you've handled it and trained your clients that, right, this is part of my work, my life. It's traveling, and I'll get back to you right when I can get back to you. But right, that's given me permission. So I thank you for doing that boldly. Was that gradual when you got to that point where like, I'm going on this trip, I'm not going to apologize for it?
I think I reached a breaking point when I was standing right before I left the big bank I was standing at the top of the Hollywood sign, literally with my phone, like trying to get service, and was like, because I knew there were phone calls coming in and didn't even know I was struggling through the hike because I had COVID, didn't know it. And I'm like searching, I'm like, oh my God, oh my gosh, like panicked. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like when I leave, I very openly, if you have an emergency, please, like, here's my phone number, call me. If someone dies and something happens, I will answer in a heartbeat. However, there are certain things that, like, if I'm in Vietnam or in Kenya, like, we will have a conversation as soon as I get back. And I prep clients too going into it of like, hey, my big trip this year, I will be away from these dates. If you need anything before I go, please let me know. Happy to do it. If not, I'll be back after this. And they'll even send me emails like, for when you're back. Like, I don't want a response from you. And they are so supportive of it. Because they also know, that. And those are the people who I also like attract into my world, are the people that support that.
Very true. Very true. That's a nice boundary, because we all do need that break from work to get recharged, to learn to expand and grow, rise and find ourselves as well. So thank you. And I hope women who are watching and listening take that into practice and give yourself permission to go on these amazing trips or be home with your kids on maternity leave. Well, whatever it is, to have time for yourself, to have time to read the book, Rise and Find, to watch the season of Women Behind the Millions. So Caroline, where can women find you if they want to learn more?
Yeah.
On the book, all that good stuff.
Yeah, you can head over to my Instagram, which is at Tanis Fin Group, or go to tanisfingroup.com. And we also have our new YouTube show, which is called The Wealth Cafe, which you should check out. You should make your cup of coffee and give it a watch. We have so much good stuff over there. And make sure you follow on social media. We will be sharing everything about the book and inside tips and tricks and everything from Rise and Find. And I cannot wait to hear your reactions to the book.
Yes, amazing guest so far on the Wealth Cafe. Do I get to come onto the Wealth Cafe? Because I would love.
Oh, you're already on the schedule. You just don't.
Like, what are you talking about? Well, thank you so much, Caroline, for stepping up and being such an advocate for these hard-achieving women. Thank you for the book, Rise and Find, and for this incredible season that we have here on Women Behind the Millions, Season 4, Rise and Find. Every Thursday at 7 p.m. with a new author of this book. It's just going to be incredible. So thank you again. And thank you so much for supporting our show. It's growing every single month. We get more and more people tuning in. So thank you for watching it, sharing it, and talking about it, ladies. All right, Money Queens, until next week, I will see you then.
Hey, money queens, looking to get your wealth to that next level, 7, 8, 9 figures? Follow us on Instagram at PinkFixMyMoney and at Women's Wealth Boutique for more millionaire money tips.